All right, guys, so I just want to give you a demo of the project that we'll be creating. So there will be some asides in the course where we do stuff that isn't necessarily going to be in the final code for the project, just to teach you. But in the end, we're going to end up with this property rental website called PropertyPulse, where you can list rental properties or search rental properties. And we'll be using NextAuth for authentication along with the Google provider. So you can authenticate with your Google account, and when you do, the user will get put in our database. The name, the email, the Google image that you use, that stuff will get saved in our database in MongoDB. All right, and we'll be creating a bunch of API routes to do our back-end stuff. So to add a new property, to fetch the properties, to fetch the messages, to bookmark properties, all kinds of stuff. So I just want to go through and show you some of the functionality. So we have this search here, which we'll be implementing later on in the course. And you can put a keyword or a location in here. So for instance, if I put Boston, it shows me this one here. If I put the word downtown, it'll search the title and description and look for that word. And there's different types. So this is an apartment, this is a studio, so I can also search by type. So if I see downtown studio, then it shows me this one. All right, so that's the search. And then we have on the home page just some kind of decorative blocks with some buttons to add a property, browse properties. And then here we have featured properties. And basically in the database, the properties will have a lot of different fields, a lot of data, and is featured will be one of them. And if you set that to true, those will show here. So you could actually have people pay you to put their property featured on the home page. And then these recent properties are actually random. So if I reload, you'll see that those actually change. Okay. As far as data, we have the rates here. Now, as far as the rates go, they can put monthly, weekly, and nightly, and they don't have to choose all of them because they might only do monthly or maybe weekly and monthly, such as this listing. And you can see it displays how they rent. So this one here is only weekly. All right, so we'll add some logic for that. Then we have the beds, baths, square feet, the location, and then if we go to the details, we have the main image here. This is basically the first image they upload. And we'll be using Cloudinary, which is a third-party service that offers image optimization. It gives us a really cool API to work with images. So that's what we'll be using. It's a very generous free tier, so you don't have to pay anything. And then we have the main info here, how they rent out, the prices, the description, the beds and baths, the amenities. So there's different things you can check off for amenities. We're going to implement Mapbox, so we can put a map with a marker, and we'll be using React Geocode to take the address and turn it into latitude and longitude so that we can place it on the map. And then any other images you upload will show up down here, and we'll actually implement something called Photo Slide, where we can click on this, it opens in a light box, and we can actually scroll through the images for that listing. Okay, and then up here, you can bookmark properties, although I'm not logged in, so if I do it, it just tells me I need to log in. We can also share, so we're using React Share for this. If I click Twitter, for instance, shows the title, the link, and also it takes the type, which this one is a studio, and gives it a hashtag of studio for rent. And then there'll be a form here that you can contact the property manager or owner if you're logged in, and I'll show you that in a minute. So let's go ahead and actually I'll show you the properties page, which is basically, same thing as the home page. We are going to implement pagination, of course, so we don't want to have 1,000 properties on one page. And there's a search here as well. All right, so let's log in, and we're going to use, like I said, we're using NextAuth with the Google provider, and the app is still in test mode, so it does show this screen for now, and I can only use the two accounts that I added in my Google console because it's not published right now. I'm not sure if I'm going to actually publish it. So you can see up here now I'm logged in and I see my little icon. That's my Google icon, and then we have a message system that shows us how many new messages we have. So I'll get to that in a second. So if I go to details now, I can bookmark a property. So if I click this, shows me I bookmarked it, and now the button changes as well. All right, then we have the form here, so we can send a message if we want to the owner. And then let's look at we'll do the add property after. Let's look at the profile. So the profile is going to have the Google data that's in the database, which is the image, the name, the email, and then we also have our listings. Whatever account I'm using, those listings will show here, and I can edit those listings if I want to, and also, of course, delete them. All right, now saved properties is going to be anything you bookmarked. So these properties right now are bookmarked. If I go to this rustic cabin and I remove the bookmark and then go back to save properties, now that's gone. All right. If I want to add a property, I'm just going to add a bunch of junk in here. It doesn't matter, but some of these fields are required. And then, I mean, we have the location, we have the beds, the baths in square feet, the amenities, and of course you can change these if you want. And then the rates, and you can leave them blank if they don't apply. So if you're only doing weekly, you know, if you're doing whatever, let's say 2,000 a week, then you would just leave these blank. All right, and then you would have your name, your email, or whatever, it doesn't matter. And then we can select some images. So let's grab these three. It says 3 files. And then I click add property. It's going to hit that API route, and it's going to send the images to Cloudinary. And then we get the images back from Cloudinary through the public URLs. And you can see I'm only renting 2,000 weekly here. Okay, the location data isn't found because I didn't add an actual address. I just put some garbage in there. So if we put an actual address, then it would show a map. And then we have the images here as well. All right, so yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. It's a simple project in functionality, but there's actually a lot that goes into it. So if we look at the code here, I mean, you can see that there's just a ton of components. And if we look in the app folder, these are all our pages and routes. So our messages, our profile, property stuff, save, search results. Then we have our API folder, which is all of our backend stuff. So our authentication, we have our bookmarks, messages, properties. Okay, so for instance, if we look at the search route, we have this will handle the GET request. We connect to the database. We get the search params. We make a query. All right, we have a not found page, a loading page. We have down here utils, our auth options. So this is basically where we put our Google provider stuff and callbacks for authentication. We get our user here from the session, we can get the user on the client and on server components as well as API routes. All right, so yeah, that's the project, guys. So let's start. One thing I wanted to mention is the theme files. So there's a lot of HTML, so I want to give you guys the theme files. Those will be in the final project here, and it's just all HTML files of the same UI. I do have a login and register page. We're not using those, obviously, because we're using Google with NextAuth, but I just figured I'd create them just for you to have in case you want to add that functionality. But yeah, so we'll be using these quite a bit to basically copy some HTML, bring it into our component, and then, you know, turn it into JSX and make it dynamic. All right, guys, so that's it. Let's move on to the next video.